So how are we doing today? We're back in the basement tying some flies. I should explain that we've kind of had a lapse with this COVID thing. What's the new norm? We don't know what the hell that's going to ever be. But we've been caught up in it too. So we haven't got out as many videos as we'd like to have. But this is an attempt at starting a different process where we can get some out. So I'm Wayne Gravatt with Fishhead Videos, and the fly we're going to do today is called Unring the Bell. Now, Unring the Bell is a song by a group called Government Mule, and I strongly suggest that you check it out. It's a hell of a good song, and it's a really, really good fly. Now, this fly is a copy of a fly of yesteryear. Let me put it in the vise here so you can look at it. And this fly is called a gray hackle yellow. It was very, very popular in the early to probably mid 1900s. A very good fly. I had an old neighbor who lived next to me when I first started fly fishing, and I was in my early 20s. He showed me that fly, and I thought, well, that's a pretty good fly. So I used it on the Blackfoot River, on Rock Creek, on a tributary that runs into the Blackfoot called Cottonwood Creek. And I did really good. It was a wet fly. And then a few years back, I just thought, well, why don't I use some of today's new materials on this fly? And we'll come up with a product. And I use it today, and I have very good luck on it. It's not a real big seller for me. One thing about flies that the trend today is to, they have foam, they have legs, they have this. And there's kind of a movement back to the simplistic thing. This is more of a fly of that tendency, that it's not, you're not going to jump out of your seat and say, wow, that's the most beautiful fly. But the beauty of the fly is it's very easy to fit, very easy to tie, fishes really, really well. So I encourage you to try this fly. And with that, let's get started. And here's the materials we're going to use today. This is just a yellow flash stub, some Hungarian partridge for the hackle. This is just a body material. Now we could use, this is just yellow yarn, but we could use any kind of dubbing would work there that's yellow. Doesn't really matter. Yellow 6/0 thread. The rib is going to be gold wire. The hook today is a 2X long shank hook, nymph hook. For the tail, and I've changed this tail. I used to use a red saddle hackle, but I like the movement that Marabou gives. And then as kind of another little rib we're going to use, this is a red ostrich plume. And then the bead on the end, this is a bead for 10s and 8s. And you could vary that with different colored beads too. You could go silver or copper sometimes on different types of days. Sometimes dull days, a brighter bead isn't as good. So I encourage you to experiment on that. So with that, let's get started with the fly. Okay, I've already got the bead on, so that's simple. You've seen that in other videos. So again, we're going to start with a nice thread base so that materials don't slide on the shank of the hook. And I'm putting that in there fairly tight. Okay, just like that. All right, now for the tail, this is the Marabou, and this is one of the changes that I made. Now that's what a whole feather looks like, and that's way too much. That would be very bulky. So what we want to do is just take feathers off the side of the vein. There's the vein of the Marabou. And actually, this isn't from a Marabou stork. It's kind of interesting. All of this Marabou today is from turkeys, white turkeys. That comes, most of it from China, unfortunately. So that's about the length we want. So you're just going to use your fingers to do that. Okay. So we're going to cut that a little bit longer. So notice when I set it in there that I set it back. I incorporate the Marabou as part of the body so that the body stays nice and uniform. Good. I'm going to shorten that up. Now, see, it's a little bit long, but see, I can just slide. See, I just put my fingers around the shank of the hook and just slid that up. That Marabou would just go into the eye of that bead. That's the length we want right there. Nice. Okay. So now we're going to tie in. This ribbing. And actually, I wished I had a little bit bigger wire. I'm out of the size wire that I wanted, but it'll work. Okay. Again, this is the yarn, and you could dub this with any kind of a yellow dubbing would work. Be just fine. Now notice I'm tying that in. I'm using the whole body length, so I keep that body nice and uniform. Just like that. Bring my thread back up. Okay. Okay, we're just going to wrap that yarn around there. And the yarn is really simple. I use a lot of yarn, and I don't know if folks out there use it, but my goodness, it's a nice product. It's very, very easy to use. You can pull it apart and dub with it. There's a lot of things you can do with it. I've got 5 lifetime supplies of it, but I guess we'll be passing that on for the generations to come. Okay, so we're just going to rub that, we're going to wind that ribbing forward, tie that off right there behind the hook. Okay, just like that. Notice when I'm cutting those wires, and you can go the helicopter thing. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. Okay, now, the next step, we're going to tie in that ostrich plume. And this kind of gives it a nice little flare. I think you'll like this. So I'm going to tie that right in front of where the front hackle will be. Okay, just like that. Nice, just like that. And I'm going to trim that out there carefully. Fluff that out just a little bit with your fingers. Okay, now I'm going to take one of these. This is a breast off of a hun. So that's the front portion right here. So we're trying to basically mimic the old grizzly hackle of old. And could you use grizzly hackle? You could. But the soft hackle of the hun is just I think a huge improvement in the fly. If you've seen my other videos, I use lots of Hungarian partridge. Lots. Okay. So we're going to cut that. Leave it fairly short. Okay. We're going to set that up there. Notice that now I want it with the bright side up. That would be the dull side. We don't want that, so that it rolls around the hook. Just like that. So we're going to tie that in there. Just like that. Stand that up when you can get it. And then when you wrap this Hungarian partridge, be sure that you incorporate the vein of the feather. Okay, fluff that out just a little bit. Good. Then just tie right behind where you grab the hun feather. Clip that out of there, just like that. And then the last step is the dubbing, which I've misplaced. What do we do with the dubbing? Here we go. This is a little bit different, lighter colored dubbing, but this will work. Okay. Dampen your fingers a little bit. Goes on there a lot easier. Okay, just like that. And if you've watched my other videos, this is one of the things that I do. I don't leave thread there. And a lot of people do, and it's basically like a batting style or anything else, whatever works for you. I particularly don't like just the thread. This gives it a little bit better look, but that's up to the tire. Okay, so we're just going to go in there with the whip finisher. Right in front of that hun feather. Pull that out of there. Kind of spread them around a little bit with your fingers. Little head cement. All right, there's the finished fly. There you go, unring the bell. That's a good fly. I hope you get out there and fish with this one. It's very easy to tie. If you lose it, no biggie to tie more. We would love to have to give us a like on this. We would love you to subscribe. We're going to have a lot more videos in the future. So thank you for viewing, and get out there and give them hell.